In this video, I'm explaining what happens during the holidays when you're in the Army. What's up, friends? Welcome to an all new video. In this one, we're talking about the holidays, given that if you're watching this the day that the video came out, it's Thanksgiving. But if not, well, the holidays are still approaching and there's always holidays during the year. And you might be curious, well, what happens when you're in the Army and you have a holiday? How does that kind of work? What happens during those holidays? What do soldiers do during those holidays? So that's what I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna explain what happens during these holidays. Specifically, we're talking about federal holidays, things like Christmas, the 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, things like that. We're not talking about things like Earth Day, St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo. Those holidays aren't like federal holidays that, you know, individuals get the time off for. So those are not the ones we're talking about. We're specifically talking about federal holidays. So let's start off at the beginning. You're maybe at the beginning of your Army career, you're in basic training, or you're in AIT. How do holidays kind of work for those situations? So let's start off with basic training. If it's like the 4th of July, if it's like Veterans Day, you're not gonna be getting any special days off. There might be some special activities going on, sometimes depending on leadership, maybe the chow hall has some specific type of food. There might be certain holidays where there's not training going on, but you're not getting the day off. You might just be stuck buffing the floors and doing a lot of cleaning, and there's gonna be some drill sergeant probably on duty that still has to work during that holiday, but maybe there's not any big training going on because things on post are closed for the holiday or whatever the case might be, but you will not be getting that day off. The only kind of exception with that is sometimes some basic trainings may do stuff during like Thanksgiving. It's a little bit rare, more commonly during Christmas. I've seen quite a few times where they will have soldiers have a little break in basic training during Christmas. Maybe they get to go home for like a week and then have to come back, but then they still burn up some of their vacation time. And that makes it to where when you're done with, you know, basic training in AIT or even OSIT, at the very end of all that, you're gonna have less leave days to be able to take for that transition from training to your first duty station. So some people don't necessarily like that because it takes away from that, but at the same time, you might not want to be stuck in basic training during Christmas. But those circumstances can vary based on different training units and what they want to do. Sometimes also based on where you're at in that training. If you're close to the end, you know, they may just kind of push it to where you hurry up and get done with basic training maybe a little bit early. I don't know. You know, sometimes it just kind of depends on that leadership and how it kind of works. But when you're in basic training, don't expect to get all the federal holidays off. Now, when you move into AIT, if you're an individual that is going through AIT and not OSIT, then it may work a little bit differently. You might get certain holidays off based on maybe how long your AIT is, how far into AIT you are. Then it may vary a little bit. You might actually get some of these days off, maybe to get to take a 4-day pass, maybe to have just that specific day off. It's gonna kind of vary based on that leadership again, as well as how far into AIT you are. Probably if you're really early in AIT, you just started AIT, you may not get that. You might just get stuck with kind of that same situation like in basic where you're just doing some crummy details around the barracks, cleaning the barracks, but not actually getting really the day off. You're just not really doing training. So then let's advance past that, past basic training, past AIT, out of OSIT, all that stuff. You're now at your first unit. How do holidays work then? So now let's get into maybe when you actually get to enjoy these holidays, and that's when you're actually at your unit and you're all done with training, you're out of that training environment. So now you get to actually maybe have like 3-day weekends, 4-day weekends. A lot of holidays usually fall on a Monday, and if that's the case, then maybe the week before, you're gonna be already designated that this is going to be a 4-day weekend for you guys, if that's available to do that. They usually make Friday at Donza is what it's called. It's like day of non-scheduled training, something like that. I don't remember what the acronym stands for. I'll put it in the caption down below. But offhand, I don't remember, but you're gonna have maybe that day off. They're gonna do POV inspections. They're gonna do probably like, you know, find out who's doing what during the weekend, you know, so then kind of, you know, have a little bit of a plan, make sure people aren't gonna get in trouble, have a little safety briefing, and then you get a little 4-day weekend. Not always the case, but a lot of units sometimes try to do that, try to break it up. You work a lot of hours in the military, so sometimes they wanna try to reward those individuals and have 4-day weekends if that's available to do. During the more major holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, they usually try to schedule things like block leave. That kind of blocks off some time on the calendar where they're not going to schedule any major training events. That way they can try to maximize the amount of people to be able to take leave, go home, see their families during these key kind of holidays during like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Sometimes even around the 4th of July is kind of a key time frame that a lot of people like to kind of schedule these block leave time frames so that individuals can go home and see their family, celebrate the holidays and all that. Especially like during Christmas, they usually have called half-day schedules. A lot of units will do this where right around Christmas time frame, maybe the last 2-3 weeks of Christmas, units will, if they're available, will try to do like half-day schedules where maybe they're only doing PT in the mornings and then only going until noon, and then they'll dismiss the soldiers for the rest of the day. Some units may work it differently where maybe some crew comes in for the morning half and then another crew comes in to work the afternoon half, because a lot of times there's a lot of soldiers gone on block leave, so there's not a whole lot to do. So rather than just waste the soldiers' time and have them sitting around, doing nothing, then sometimes they try to work out this half-day schedule and let them, enjoy a little bit of time, whether it's in the barracks, whether it's with their families locally and they're not going anywhere, so maybe they're not going on leave, maybe they're just kind of hanging out in the area because they're saving up leave for something else, or they just want to stay in the area and not waste any leave on it, then they can choose to do that, and they have this half-day schedule sometimes. Now for those individuals that maybe are staying behind and they want to go to the DFAC, maybe during some of these key holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas, they usually do some special events, some special kind of, decorations, special food, that's, kind of themed to that event, to that holiday. And then usually like leadership, sergeant major, the maybe company commander, the battalion commander, whatever, will a lot of times be in the chow hall serving the food to the soldiers, just kind of like, hey, happy holidays, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, happy Thanksgiving, whatever maybe the occasion is, and they're serving those soldiers the Christmas food or the Thanksgiving food, whatever the occasion calls for. Also on that note, when you're deployed, similar thing. You won't necessarily get Christmas or Thanksgiving off, but they will have, like in the chow hall, usually that themed kind of food available to individuals to, have a Thanksgiving dinner in Iraq, Afghanistan, or wherever that deployment is at, or Christmas dinner, or whatever the case might be. I've been deployed both during Christmas a couple times and Thanksgiving as well, and they usually have a pretty good feast going on. I'm not a big fan of turkey, so the kind of disadvantage to that is if you're kind of like me, where you're not a big fan of turkey and you were just hoping to, I don't feel like, participating in this Thanksgiving festivities while I'm here in Iraq or while I'm on this deployment. I just want to get a burger. They don't usually have that. I was a little bit bummed both times. I don't really feel like participating in Thanksgiving dinner while I'm deployed. I just wanted to get some regular old food. Well, the only thing they had was turkey and stuffing and all that kind of stuff. So I couldn't get a regular cheeseburger or whatever during Thanksgiving, DFAC food. Now, kind of opposite of that combat environment, if you're in the field, sometimes they try to plan it to where either you're coming out of the field before the holiday, maybe you're gonna come out of the field for that holiday and then go back in the field. Sometimes you just might get stuck being, in the field for that holiday. They're not gonna probably do that for like major ones though, like Thanksgiving or Christmas. You're probably not gonna be stuck in the field for that. But there's a chance, you could be stuck in the field for like Veterans Day or Memorial Day or something a little bit, not as big of a deal as like Christmas and Thanksgiving for like families, because some families will get pretty upset if their husband or wife or whatever stuck in the field and they have to spend Christmas alone because of a training environment. It's a little bit more understandable when it's a deployment, but some people get a little upset when it's just for a training environment. So usually you'll come out of the field for those key holidays. I've had that several times where like National Training Center, we had it pretty much planned out to where we were coming back just before the Thanksgiving weekend, or I've never really had it around Christmas time frame, but I would imagine they kind of do something very similar to that. So there you go, that's essentially what happens during the holidays, what soldiers do, what kind of activities are going on. Sometimes there's other festivities that, different units will plan or different bases will plan around those time frames to have, things to do, especially like around the 4th of July. A lot of times they have their own fireworks show on base that you can attend and all sorts of other things. Maybe during Christmas time, the first sergeant or the sergeant major, whoever, maybe dresses up as Santa Claus and you can do some fun stuff. So my question to you guys is, what questions do you have maybe about holidays if you're new to being in the Army or maybe thinking about joining the Army? And then for my veterans out there, I'd love to hear maybe some holiday stories. If you have some holiday stories that you want to leave down in the comments down below about being in the military, whether it being stuck in the field for a specific holiday or being stuck on a deployment for a specific holiday, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to read about them. I'm sure the other viewers who are maybe thinking about joining the military would like to hear about them as well. For me, I don't really have anything too crazy. I did spend, a couple of Christmases in Iraq. I had a little tiny little Christmas tree. I had some little ornaments. I had some friends that sent me some ornaments. I had one friend that sent me like a little Raiders ornament. I had a few other ones that I had received from different friends that I hung on this little tiny little Christmas tree that I plugged in. Had some little Christmas lights, but I didn't really have any Christmas gifts. I think I was still running missions and everything around the time frame, so nothing too special, but I did have a little fun little Christmas tree while I was in Iraq. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it some love and hit that thumbs up button. If you want to see some more videos recommend these guys right over here. Also check out the links in the description to my social media, Patreon, and more. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Christopher Chaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.